I think, anyway. So yes, look after yourselves, of course. But yeah, I think the reason I was referencing that is because the reports that he puts out are very interesting. You know, you get to be able to discuss the framework of what's going on without, as you said, falling into that trap of like just repeating Russian propaganda and then just highlighting it and emphasizing it, because it's a fine balance, isn't it? You know, and again, I think you have to be careful how much you talk about these things and how much you go around in circles. But to understand the framework and the narratives that are coming, and to be able to just, well, forewarned is forearmed, as they say. So that's always very useful in any circumstance. I'm interested. He was talking about what they've been looking at recently, and I've not seen any evidence of that coming down in any of the posts that I've seen. But I'm going to be looking, Christopher. I think you may be looking into something further that he mentioned. This is it soft power? Is that what we're calling it? Is that the term? That it's got a specific term? I forget these names of these things, but anyway, I think that's what.
Yeah, soft power refers to the non-kinetic, non-military, non-kind of influentialness of things. And soft power could be the U.S. State Department going into a country and becoming a partner with the country, and USAID becoming a partner with the country and bringing humanitarian efforts and things like that, but also at the same time trying to bring in education and trying to dispel in this case, we're talking about narratives that are destructive for folks and destructive for the free Western free societies of the world. And to be able to counter that would all be part of the soft power. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Christopher. I wasn't sure if they were calling it soft power or if there was some kind of cyber term for it. So thank you for clarifying that. I'm glad there's no cyber term for it, because it's just more confusing things for me to remember. So there we are. Flock Tyrants, did you have anything that you wanted to comment there?
Not really, no. But yeah, it's just influence. Soft power is about the influence that a country can project. Yeah, it's not a military thing. Sometimes it can be economical. So when they can use their money to influence other countries, and they pertain a certain amount of power through that. So.
Yes, but the cyber world has a very frustrating habit of calling normal things in life a completely different name and meaning the same thing. And this is very, very confusing to laymen like me. So I wanted to make sure it was still going to be called soft power and not some, I don't know, fancy cyber term for these things. You probably don't notice these things, Christopher, as much. Maybe they don't stand out to you as much. But I notice this quite often, more in the cyber industry and in the IT industry than any other industry. This happens.
Well, everything has its own sort of lexicon of terms and stuff that you got to kind of wrap your heads around. Think about the government and its international relations in the government. They have all their own terms that tend to mean something specific to that particular discipline. And so you have the same thing in chemistry or physics or any of the things. Even think about like what terms you might have in Yorkshirish that you have that mean something completely the same, but yet they're completely different. Back to you.
Well, of course, we like to confuse people this way, but anyway, I find that lexicon more confusing in the cyber world. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm used to other sectors and other industries and used to the words that they use for that. I don't know. Maybe it's because when I grew up, they didn't even have such things as computers. There was no such thing as a computer even in my school. Can you even believe that, Christopher? This is how old I am. But never mind, I'm making excuses now for my lack of IT skills. Flock Tyrants, please go ahead.
Oh, very shocking, Tracy. Did you not have a calculator growing up?
not have a calculator. I had to memorize things.
Oh, well, you're the lucky ones. Yeah, I've read something similar where, especially the younger generation now, I mean, even people my age in the 30s and 40s, they sort of do this quite a lot or quite often, that they come up with these new terms to describe exactly what used to be before, and people used to jump in and say, don't you mean this word? And they would be like, oh yeah, that's what I mean. And then it's like, well, it makes it a bit redundant that you created a new word for something that already exists. So perhaps maybe you should have gathered your thoughts before you kind of announce to the world that you discovered something new. So it's very fascinating that I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's maybe it's this whole attitude about wanting to be heard a lot, or uh, uh, you know, being famous, or God knows what people have got it in their minds these days. So, yeah, I think it's a symptom of that, if you like, that people just want to be on YouTubes and pretend to be like they are all knowing and uh, saying the exact same thing but differently.
Yes, the exact same thing but differently, like data and information. I used to think, why do they call it data? Why do they have to call it data? Why do they just call it information? It's just information, I used to think. You could shorten it to info. They don't need to call it data. But of course, I got over that. That was a very long time ago.
No. There's a actual distinction to that. Data is one piece of data. For example, your age. For example, number 30 or 40 or 50 means nothing absolutely at all, right? Whereas information is two pieces of data. So it could be name, Tracy, and your age, let's say 30, and together, let's say Tracy is 30, right? So that is a piece of information. Whereas data in itself, it means nothing at all. It has no context.
It means something completely different now as well to when it first came out and the term was used, because my first job ever with a computer, where I fibbed and told them that I was able to use a computer, and I never used one before in my life, and I didn't even know how to switch it on. So I looked at the person outside of me and watched which button they pressed. Can you believe I got away with this? And this was what they call data entry, which is very, very basic in them days. It was literally just a form, a very basic form, where you would input exactly as you say, people's name, address, account number, that type of thing. Very basic indeed, compared to now. Most people over under a certain age probably got no idea what I'm talking about. So maybe we should get back to Ukraine. I think, Christopher, I'm getting a bit sidetracked. It is Sunday afternoon. That's my excuse of the day. Well, it's actually Sunday evening here.
Well, I mean, I guess it
So,
applies too if you think of the different words. The idea that some Russians can't speak the pronounce Ukrainian words, but the Ukrainians can pronounce the Russian words, and so I guess you have somewhat the similar um, lexicon issues. Back to you.
I wonder. I wonder if they can say Ukrazaliznytsia then, because the word that Russians can't say that they find difficulty with, I believe, is the word for bread in Ukrainian, and I think it's something like, is it palanitsia or palnitsia or something like that? I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's that nitsia sound that apparently that they struggle to pronounce. So I wonder if they can say Ukrazaliznytsia or not. That's very interesting. The Russians, of course, I don't really care whether they can or not, but that question just occurred to me when you said that, Christopher. For every child, welcome back. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Tracy and Christopher. I so enjoy being here, and I'm so glad that I was able to come online as quickly as I could. I had some morning things that I got out of the way, and I should have done it faster, but I'm here now. I just want to say that nest with the graph of from the Ministry of Defense. I shared that moments ago to somebody who has had no contact with MriyaReport whatsoever, and very little contact with the things that are going on the internet involving Ukraine. I simply texted the graph with the text accompanying the graph from the Ministry of Defense without comment. And this is to illustrate the importance of us sharing the content which we have and not allowing it to stay within the space. The immediate remark seconds after it was seen was, the enemy doesn't want us to know they're losing. We must share our content. We must find a way to get it to people who can put eyes on the actual documents and not listen to our voices. Just see the documents that we have access to. Slava Ukraine.
Hello, Slava. Thank you for every child. Flock Tyrants.
Oh, I'm offended now. Forever Child said good evening to both of you and left me out. What's going on, Forever Child?
I think maybe she's distracted.
Yeah, I'm joking. Obviously,
Okay.
I'm joking as well. So
I know, of course. I know, Flock Tyrants. Thank
This
you.
is a secret. This is a secret. I was talking to you with the mic off. I'm so very sorry. Listen, I hyper focus, and my hyper focus is so bad that if the television is on, I cannot. When I was raising my children, I could not raise my children with the television on. I could not have the television on if there was anything at all that required my attention. I hyper focus, and I was so focused on that information. I'm sending you my love, absolutely, and everyone in the space. I absolutely greet all of you equally and with the same affection, or nearly the same affection. I can't promise it's exactly the same affection. However, I do have this problem hyper focusing, and that's one reason why I have to be off the space to do concentration work, because it's just it's just a requirement I seem to have. Slava Ukraine.
Hello, Slava. We understand that, for every child. I see that you do a lot of work in the background, boosting things as well as one of them, and we appreciate you for that. Thank you. But of course, take time for yourself as well. Don't forget. Flock Tyrants.
when you look at that, I think we've got the same thing. I've got hyper focus as well. I get my mother-in-law just complaining to me all the time about, I'm not listening to her while watching TV. I just said I'm a man. I can't focus on two things at once. You have to shout louder than TV.
Yes, that's no good. We don't like that. Indoor voices around here. No, joking aside. Okay, thank you, everybody. That was a good conversation. Martin is requesting and coming back to join us, it looks like. So before I go on to some other headlines and news of the day and bring everybody up to date with the numbers, seeing as we're coming up to the hour, we will see what Martin has to say. Martin, welcome back.
Tracy, thank you. And Christopher, and For Every Child, and Flock Tyrants, and Adam and Nancy, and everyone else, Prince Heather, I see. Slava Ukraini. I just...
Hello, Slava.
Absolutely. I just posted on X, and again, Tracy, you could go to my timeline, quite a moving and powerful article that's in Time magazine, and it's by Ilya Ponomarenko, the former defense and security reporter at the Kiev Post, and subsequently a co-founder of the Kiev Independent. and it's called "Do the Right Thing." And if I may, I don't, not that I like to hear my own voice, but I think it's worthy of reading and sharing with those who might not have a chance to read it themselves. So if you'd like me to, I could read it, Tracy.
What's it about, Martin?
Well, let me just read it. It's self-explanatory. It's by Ilya Ponomarenko. It's called "Do the Right Thing, America." So if you'll let me, I'll go ahead and read it. I'll read it quickly, if that's okay with you.
Carry on, Martin.
Thank you. A little over 2 years ago, in the dead of a quiet night in late February 2022, pretty much every journalist in Ukraine was wide awake. We were staring into our laptops in the dark, updating news feeds every other minute, looking at US Air Force RQ-4 Global Hawk surveillance aircraft wiggling over Ukraine and scanning the border with Belarus, north of Kiev, and the Donbass front in the east. Yours truly was quietly sipping whiskey in the gloom of his poor rented apartment in northwest Kiev. We knew the day of all days was coming, and then the face of Vladimir Putin of Russia twisted with sadistic glee in anticipation of the coming triumph over going live on TV screens. Quote, "I have made a decision to carry out a special military operation," end quote, he said. And quote, whoever stands in our way must know that Russia's reaction will be immediate and bring down upon them consequences never seen before in your history, end quote. The rolling thunder of missiles was soon heard from all quarters of the Ukrainian capital. TV channels broadcast live video of gigantic plumes of fire over Ukrainian cities, and endless convoys of trucks and armored vehicles marked Z and V, or Z for the Americans, and V breaking through along most of the Ukrainian border. The unthinkable, the most catastrophic European war of aggression since Adolf Hitler had begun. I often go back to those early days of the Battle of Kiev, even more so this week amid a showdown in the US Congress over $60 billion in military aid to my country. Back in February 2022, we were all alone. What little Western military material we possessed had been sent to us via an air bridge from the free world in the final weeks or even just days before the invasion. It was supposed to be our nation's doomsday. Yet no words can do justice to the unbelievable spiritual uprising of those days. So many men and women decided not to go down easy. The Ukrainian military came to life, ambushing and devastating gargantuan Russian columns advancing over woodland roads towards Kiev. Ukrainians stubbornly remained in the semi-surrounded capital to fulfill their duty. Businesses fed vulnerable elders and delivered meals from their restaurants to military units defending Kiev. Many people volunteered to bring medicine and essentials to war-affected suburbs. Even more tied yellow tape around their sleeves, grabbing their hunting rifles and self-organized into territorial defense units. It was awe-inspiring to witness regular people lining up to get Kalashnikov rifles from the police or preparing Molotovs in Kiev's Obolon to fight the invaders coming from their homes. Many, including me, moved for their loved ones out of harm's way, and then got back to Kiev out of a moral duty we'd never felt before. Those we had elected to lead us recorded videos of themselves standing together in the Kiev government quarter, their message to our nation, quote, "We are all here defending our fatherland," end quote. It was the final stand of the finest hour, the very same hour about which old Winston Churchill had once intoned in World War II. And as you know, against expectations, Ukraine prevailed in that battle. What followed was the hell of a full-scale, prolonged war against one of the world's most formidable military powers, and the dictator who would not come to terms with his shocking failure. It's been just over 2 years since the beginning of the Battle of Kiev. Since then, Ukraine liberated half of its territory lost to Russia after 2022 and set off a whole range of hallmark events: the gargantuan Battle of Donbass, the liberation of Kherson, the stunning operation in Kharkiv Oblast, the Russian Navy's debacle in the Black Sea, the rise of drones as the next level of modern warfare. Ukraine did not go it alone. Entire nations overcame their fears and hesitation and became our strong backers in war. Britain and Germany, grappling all along with their own history, and so many other nations as well, united behind the crystal clear vision of the horrifying threat of Russian aggression. In victories and setbacks, here we are now, an independent nation in control of 80% of our sovereign territory, mourning our dead, sending our gratitude to friends, and grasping at any straw to carry on. We survive as a nation thanks to that moral choice of doing what is right. Millions of men and women do so every day as they fight back in a terrible and uneven battle against the aggressor, or as they raise funds to buy FPV drones for the outgunned military, or as they work hard to keep Ukraine's shattered wartime economy afloat. But right now, we see America heartbreakingly fractured and in disarray over Ukraine aid. Hand on heart, knowing what America has always been and stood for, that was the last thing we in Ukraine expected. As friends and willing partners, we Ukrainians ask the Republicans who are vocal opponents of aid to drop their obstructionism. Because, to quote Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who took a surprise trip to Ukraine last month, quote, history is looking down upon you, looking over your shoulder, he said, in Kiev, quote, rise to the occasion. We hope that America does the right thing. It is not too late yet. Thank you. And so, Tracy, or Christopher, you may want to post that into the nest
Yeah.
as well.
Martin, thank you very much. That was very eloquently read. Is
Thank you.
is it behind a paywall at all?
No, I have an iPhone, so I was reading it without a paywall. So I hope it isn't, Christopher. I sent it off to numerous friends as well, and I hope they're able to read it. And so I hope if it is behind a paywall, there might be some way, perhaps Christopher, with your amazing computer abilities to maybe put it as some sort of PDF or something. But for me, it's not behind a paywall.
Okay. Is it on your timeline? Because I just looked at the first couple of posts and I didn't see it.
Yes, it should be. I posted it on X, so it should be there. Let me just check. Hang on.
I see it. I see it. I was
Yeah.
expecting something. I was expecting something a little bit different, but yes, I see it now. Thank you.
Okay, Christopher, thank you, my friend, and everyone else. Slava Ukraini, please retweet this site. And remember, we are, as always, on the right side of history against this hideous war of aggression and genocide by Muscovy against democratic Ukraine. Their fight is our fight. Thank you. And I'll step down to a listener, Christopher. Thank you.
No worries, Martin. Harum Slava. I did go ahead and throw it up in the nest. I will shuffle the nest around appropriately, but I'll leave it up there in the front as the front card for the moment. So this is MriyaReport. I think Tracy may have spontaneously disassembled. So I'm not really sure exactly why she's okay. I hope she's fine. And so there's we'll be hanging out, and hopefully she'll be back up shortly. It's not a problem. I'm just trying to see if we can call anybody else up into the arena of speaker. It's not very confrontational. It's kind of a nice a nice Sunday afternoon, and Fuck has his hand up. Go ahead, Fuck, please.
Yeah, Tracy got attacked by Anglo-Saxophone squirrels. She'll be back. She'll be back.
Squirrel. Squirrel. Yes, I hear you. So, Fuck, what was the word that Tracy was talking about? It's sort of the password that Russians can't say in Ukrainian.
Oh, good lord! Now you're testing me. Slava, something about bread? No.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, not a problem. I was paying attention. It's just find it difficult to pronounce a language that I know very little about. Ironically, I speak 3 languages, so you'd think I'd be quicker on this.
Well, you've always been very knowledgeable about Ukraine. I may have slipped into believing that you were also fluent in that.
Ha! Tricked you.
That's okay. It's perfectly good. It's perfectly a good trick. So it's 105, 1300 hours here on the east coast of the United States. It is, what would that make it? That makes it 1800 hours UTC, and that would make it 2000 hours in Kiev. And then I can't remember more than that. It's easier to remember those because I look at those or say those most frequently. We're MriyaReport. We are a Twitter space. We're an X space. Well, we're still here. It's not X. Not. We're not past tense. We are current tense, and we've been current tense for 2 years in running, ever since the day before the genocidal invasion of Ukraine by Russia. I can't really continue to believe that we're here 2 years on, and we're still banging on about the same sort of issues that we've had for the last 2 years. And hopefully we will be able to power through with getting here in the United States, getting our representatives that we elected and that we pay, and that we're supposed to be, representing who we are. But that seems like they're more interested in, some of them, in representing themselves, or even they're more interested in representing Russia. It doesn't seem like a big stretch to think that some individuals have been willing idiots, unwilling idiots, simps, I think is the word that I was thinking of. That's what they were. They've been reduced themselves to. Fortunately, for those individuals, we have elections every 2 years. And so you don't have to, this is for the House of Representatives, the lower house, the people's house, so to speak. And we do have the power to change that. So if you're unhappy with what you see, obviously get yourself to the ballot box, get your friends, grab somebody else, go, go, go. And that's, really that's what we do in a democracy, right? We only reap what we sow in some respects. And unfortunately, we're in the process of reaping something that's, many people may not have voted for. Many people may not have been engaged. But I'm hoping that the generation that is coming up now, that it's turning into the years that they can go ahead and vote. My person is one of those individuals. As a 20-year-old, she is somewhat engaged in politics, and well, she's not so much engaged with international politics. She's more engaged with things that are important to her. She's more engaged with LGBTQ rights. She's more engaged with the environment, and things that of people her age that seem to be gravitating towards. But if we can use those and turn those individuals, no matter how it is, into something that they can participate in, because it is their civic duty, because rights and responsibilities go hand in hand. You kind of have a lot of rights here in the United States. You have a lot of freedoms, but you have the responsibilities of things like jury duty, and the responsibilities of things like voting. And voting is a really big responsibility. And one should take that pretty seriously. And I hope that folks will begin to think, with what's been going on the last couple of years intensely, that they will begin to believe that they do matter, that their vote does count. And hopefully we'll be able to counter the misinformation and disinformation narratives that are out there that tell people don't vote because it doesn't matter. Oh, why are we voting? It doesn't matter. Anyway, I see that Tracy is back up and Fuck has his hand up. So Fuck, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Cece whenever she comes around, but maybe I'll ask you, Chris. Is there a lot going on these days about the next generation getting trained up or getting to be savvy to enter politics? Because if we have Biden and Trump as the only option, and don't get me started in UK, because there is not really any option there either. But it seems like we can't seem to find useful people to come up to elect, or someone who speaks sense. So I wonder if a lot of effort is being put to, the next generation to be politicians.
Well, I think that there are some think tanks out there that have talked about the next generation. Brookings is one of those think tanks. It's sort of a left of center kind of think tanks, and they did some commentary last year, about a year ago, on how younger voters will impact the elections by just looking at some of the demographics that we're seeing here. So the apparently the new category for people, you had the baby boomers, and then you have Gen X going backwards, 41 to 56 years old, millennials being 25 to 40, and then plurals. This one I did not know. A plural is someone between 9 and 24. There'll be in 6 years, the Brookings Institute notes that these individuals will be millennials, and some of the plurals will be a majority of the electorate in just 6 years. So the research on individual voting behavior over time supports the idea that early partisan predilections persist over an individual's lifespan. So Republicans need to take steps now, the Brookings Institute is indicating, to reverse these trends amongst young people before they become an unbreakable barrier to GOP electoral success, and Democrats need to focus on plurals and millennials in the years ahead to take advantage of the opportunity that this emerging majority presents. And for those who want to follow along, if you go ahead and Google younger voters, or what is the next generation voters worried about, and the Brookings Institute, you'll find that this is from the 27th, released on the 27th of February, 2023. It has nice graphs in there. So I think, Vakwood, to answer your question, from looking at some of this survey data, and certainly anecdotally, and looking at influencers, millennial influencers, or plurals influencers, Pink and God, your name just shot out of my head. Very famous musician, rock star woman, who's drawn the ire of the Republicans and others and trolls because she is busily trying to get people to be registered to vote. She's not Taylor Swift. Thank you. Goodness gracious. Taylor is not telling what to vote, and neither is Pink, but they're both suggesting, and they're making those things. And Pink is actually doing that at their concerts, that they're putting the information, having people come in from local voting organization kind of places that get people to vote. Because if you look at our presidential election last time around, I think it was probably somewhere in the mid to high 60% of eligible people voted. That's kind of not a good, I would love to see it much higher, obviously, but people stayed away for a variety of reasons. And some of those reasons might be for denial of access to the polls, but also some of those reasons might be just from disenfranchisedness, or the fact that nobody has reached out, or sorry, that's probably not the right word. That the reach out to people in these younger generations hasn't occurred with the veracity that people seem to be trying to target the retired folks. So I don't know what you think about that, but that gives something. Forever Child has her hand up. Let's see what she has to say.
Yes, Christopher. Those were excellent comments from you. I'm choked up. I seem to always come from far out, and without anything to go on except what I see and hear and do myself. I'm not especially accomplished at anything. I don't claim to have any great skills. That said, what I have witnessed with the present state of politics in the United States is they did not start running for office at the national level. They started running for dog catcher and school board members. So obviously, since we see what managed to get into these offices, none of us should feel incompetent to run for office. And it's perfectly fine to run for dog catcher or school board, or any local office that has no running, no one. It's wrong in this country to have any office without someone to run in opposition. I just want to leave that there and let it percolate a while, because we are in a place where we must be active. Oh, I've got one more thing. We're in a place where we must be active. Christopher, somebody mentioned merchandise with MriyaReport. I would wholly recommend that the graph that is or was in the nest from the Department of Defense be put on T-shirts for us to wear, and if that's updated monthly, the MriyaReport could sell a new batch of T-shirts every single month, and it could be limited number. But nevertheless, we do not have to comment. All we have to do is make available what Ukraine says, what the people say, what the government says. It's not necessary for us to make any comment. For us to make comment is like the headlines on newspapers. It really detracts from the message. Slava Ukraine.
Slava, thank you for every child. And Tracy, I see that you've been reassembled. I hope that they gave you a good wash and a paint job, maybe, or some undercoating, so that you would be protected and be able to carry on for many, many years to come. Back to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Christopher. So let's go over some of the headlines of the day, shall we, and bring everybody up to date, seeing as you and I will be leaving before too long. So in Dnipropetrovsk, they reported artillery all day, as I said to you earlier, but since then, still nothing updated, thankfully. So no more victims or anything like that to report. In Donetsk, unfortunately, that's not the case. The update as of 4 p.m. there, 16 people were known to have been injured, 2 in a serious condition, 13 people were injured in Kharkovo. There are preliminary consequences on the attack, obviously. Like I said to you before, 15 high-rise buildings were damaged, so that's quite a lot of damage. So I expect reports to be coming out from that, as with Odessa, probably into tomorrow, I would expect anyway. It wouldn't surprise me. Kharkiv came under fire at dinner time as well, lunchtime, as I said to you all earlier, and that was 15 high-rise buildings. So 16 people is the updated information from there. And then Kherson, I was just looking at, actually, let me just go back to the military administration, because there was an update there as well. During the whole day, the activity of enemy drones in the frontline settlements of Kherson region did not subside. Various districts came under shelling, quarters on the coastal zone, as well as residential premises. But fortunately, no victims, I'm pleased to report there. And then the mayor of Zaporizhia, no, he's not the mayor of Zaporizhia, is he? I'm getting confused between his new title, Christopher, and his old one. So he was the mayor of Melitopol and still may be, but he's now also the head of Zaporizhia Regional State Administration there. So he's reporting about 2 underground schools that are to be built up in Zaporizhia. So, of course, this is already happening in other regions. We've seen at least one of these in Kharkiv, one purpose-built one, and then they're making other facilities, renovating other facilities in basements of already existing premises. So they are negotiating with international partners regarding the finance of the construction, which I'm pleased to say. So they're going to be getting help from international partners. The issue of education is one of the most important that he's considering personally, as well as obviously on a national scale. More than 40,000 school children in the Zaporizhia region. He's talking about, of course, this is just in the parts of Zaporizhia controlled by Ukraine. So that's going to be happening there, which I'm pleased to say. I was looking at some information earlier, Christopher. I don't know if you flashed by you at all. Apparently, Germany is supposed to be helping out with the purchase of this ammunition from the Czech Republic, going in on that coalition there with a couple of other different countries. That I didn't see anything in detail about what that might contain in detail, just the headlines and who it had been said by. So I was looking for more detail on that. Haven't had chance to see anything, but I'd only just seen it not long ago. Anyway, what am I looking at here? Ukrainian drones began bypassing electronic warfare of the systems. Apparently, Russian Telegram and mill bloggers are complaining and whining that Ukrainian FPV drones pose a huge problem for the Russian army. The occupiers are concerned that the means of electronic warfare are no longer working. Well, that's just sad, isn't it? Because I'm not sad, and I'll tell you why I'm not sad. Because these are the things that they do. Odessa, unfortunately, the latest update. So that was, let me see, 7:20. So an hour ago, 7:20 in Ukraine would have been an hour ago. So the latest update on there from there is that they've now unfortunately located the body of the 8-year-old girl who is the sister to the 10-year-old boy that they located earlier. So unfortunately now that death toll has increased to 12 people and 5 of those are children. But this is unfortunately what we have to expect. Let's see what Atesh have been up to, shall we, and console ourselves with hopefully some destruction or spotting of occupiers to get taken out by the armed forces by Atesh. I think that's a good idea. What do you reckon, Christopher? So, Atesh are actively working in the Smolensk region. Oh, Mockers will be pleased. Mockers loves to say this word. Among the agents, there are officers of the Military Automobile Inspectorate for the Smolensk region. This has been attacked by drones in this region a few times. We also use our official position in other organisations, which are too early to talk about, but very soon you will gradually find out everything for yourself after these successful operations. So it looks like Mockers is going to be having some booms to talk about in the Smolensk region. That sounds good to me, Christopher. Now, let's bring everybody up to date with the numbers in case you did not hear them earlier on. So the eliminated invaders for today, and of course, not forgetting the equipment. What's going on here? Wait a minute, I'm scrolling back too far. I'm looking in the wrong place, Christopher. That won't help, will it? I was looking at the State Special Transport Service figures then. The General Staff Report is in as well for the evening, so we can quickly go over that. But your numbers for today are 1,160 eliminated invaders, 16 tanks, 28 APCs, 35 artillery systems, 1 aircraft, 14 UAVs, 65 vehicles and fuel tanks. I am absolutely so pleased to say. Logistics, and 3 special equipment. Of course, not forgetting the special equipment. Now, General Staff Report. Do you want to comment anything, Christopher, before I go on?
No, we're good. Thank you. That's it's impressive, of course.
On to the General Staff Report for this evening then. 68 combat clashes took place during the day. In total, the enemy launched 5 missile strikes and 44 airstrikes. They fired 54 salvo rockets at the positions of troops and populated areas. And in the Kupian direction, the enemy attacked the positions of defenders 9 times, specifically in the areas of Sinkivka and Tabaivka. In Liman direction, soldiers repulsed 3 enemy attacks, and in Bakhmut direction, 4 enemy attacks were repelled by defenders. In the Avdiivka direction, 18 enemy attacks were repelled in several different settlements. And in Novopavlivsky direction, the districts of Krasnoivka, Georgiivka, Novomikhailivka, the enemy tried to break through the defense of troops 27 times. Wow, that's been a tough day for the armed forces of Ukraine there. The enemy did not conduct offensive assault actions in the Kharkiv direction or in the Kherson direction either. Oh, that's very interesting. So it looks like they're either by choice or by necessity slowing down the intensity of the attacks all across the front line and just focusing on a couple of specific areas. Let's hope that's a trend. The enemy did not conduct, I read that bit, sorry. During the day, the aviation of the Defence Forces struck areas, 7 concentration of enemy personnel, nothing else after that. So no missile and force troops activity either. So just the 7 concentrations of enemy personnel. Although that's enough, isn't it, in itself, 7. I wonder how many people were concentrated in each one of those 7 areas. Let's hope, like Russians like to gather like loads of them, don't they? Didn't they do that recently? They did, Christopher, didn't they? We spoke about this. Do you remember how they got hit by?
It was at least twice, or maybe it was 3 times, with twice in one area of the same area. Yeah, that wasn't exactly right.
I think it was 3 times. I think you're right, Christopher. I'm sorry, I can't help laughing at that. These things must be laughed at. So where does that leave us to go now? Well, let me have a look and I will tell you. State Special Transport Service figures for the day. Actually, they gave some wider figures as well as the military figures that came out. So there's this is the civil demining. So 2,737 explosive items they removed for the civil. The civil demining, yes, that's right. That's from February the 26th to the 3rd of March, so it's slightly different period than the military demining. Didn't that say to the 1st of March, if I remember rightly? I would have to go back and check, but I think that's what it said. Not much of a difference. It's same distance in between, I guess, but just starting and beginning on different dates. So 1,703 in Kharkiv, 968 in Kherson, and 66 in Mykolaiv. A territory with an area of 2,711.13 hectares was demined, and that's 2,498 in Kherson, 150 in Mykolaiv, and 62 in Kharkiv. So this, of course, somewhere amongst those figures is the small help of those devices that we fundraised for, Christopher, because this is the State Special Transport Service figures. So they have those mine detecting devices somewhere amongst the huge, what is it, a brigade or a unit? They're bigger than a unit, aren't they? I think they have regional centres. So I guess they're like on a brigade level. I'm not even sure how many people are in a brigade. Are you, Christopher? I just think that's the biggest military formation that I can think of.
Come on, fingers. My phone is wet. That's why it's not working so well. But no, I don't. I'm sorry. It goes right out of my head. I've asked people probably half a dozen times to explain the different categories and the amount of soldiers per, and of course it depends on what army you're speaking about or what military you're speaking of, so on and so forth. But it none of it sticks in my head. Back to you.
It's confusing, isn't it? Well, anyway, whatever the size, they are doing absolutely incredible. So, water areas 21.66 hectares. I've seen lots of these videos actually this week about the explosions that they've done. Some of them are absolutely staggering. The amount of water that flies up in the air when they have to explode them. So the size of some of them is quite staggering, really. Motor roads 847 kilometres. Railway tracks 2,295. Power lines 435, and gas 41.45. So quite a lot of work going on there. And the residential area is 263.57 hectares. So that's the total of all those daily figures that we post, or that I post anyway. I don't know if you even see them. Sometimes I guess it depends what you're doing. But breaking down just today's figures alone, 358 explosive items. That's a lot for a weekend, because there's always a drop in the weekend's figures. So if they're making that many on a weekend consistently, then I'm really, really interested to see where the figures go and if they continue to rise on the weekly, on the weekdays. Sorry, I'm not getting my words out very well here. You know what I mean? On each weekday as well as on the weekends.
Yeah, 100%. But do you think in any way, shape, or form it's leftovers that they're just reporting it didn't come in past the certain cutoff time, and they're just reporting it late? I don't know.
I mean, it's always possible, I guess. I can't know, can I, for sure? But all I can say is that over time, consistently, the figures have been lower on a weekend than they have on a weekday, and that's a pattern over several months. So we'll see, I guess, is the answer. Not very helpful, but we shall
No, I
see
mean,
where
no,
they go.
it is helpful. The contextualization that your observations have been over a certain period of time is just as valid as anything, anything else in terms of an explainer. So thank you.
You're welcome. Did you notice, Christopher, that the Ministry of Defence had changed their, I don't know what you call it, they've changed to the new design now. Have you noticed that this week? No? I didn't notice it. I was looking for the Ministry of Defence channel on Telegram, and I'm thinking, where is it? I can't find it because I'm used to recognising it. And it took me ages to work it out. I searched for it again, and I thought, have I deleted it by accident? Sometimes you just do these scrolling things without meaning to, or lean on your phone. And then I realised it's because they've changed. I did know that this was going to be happening because I remember reading about it, but I'd completely forgotten. And now it's completely changed now. Did you notice that?
No, absolutely didn't notice. But I'm wondering what the impetus was. Do you think that they just wanted a refresh, or are they trying to align it with the rest of the units in the government?
I mean, I don't know. I would have to go back and I don't think they explained that when they changed it. They just said that they were changing it, and I don't know if they gave a reason. But I noticed they changed quite a few different things, designs of different things throughout the year. So it's not just the Ministry of Defence. They changed various motifs and different things, and I don't know, redesigned some of them. And also, lots of new medals came out. I don't know if you remember seeing those. Because I really enjoyed when they came out consecutively. And so you got to experience kind of one or two each week, if that makes sense. And they were quite meaningful. So, but no, I don't really know why they've changed it, is the answer. Because they felt like it, I guess.
Well, I guess
So-
to a certain degree, it might be just to update things, and maybe it's to, anytime you get a sort of a changeover and like with Zelensky and moving out of the way for others. I mean, you probably have a lot of different reasons, but it's kind of cool that the medals were kind of like when the post office issues stamps. Back to you.
Yeah, those medals were brilliant. In fact, they're all on Facebook. I might find those and post those again for people to have a look at. I remember those. I'm trying to look back now in the Ministry of Defence to see where they announced the change. I'm pretty sure it was before. I think it's something that was decided. I'd have to double check the dates and see if I think it's got any relevance, but I would only be guessing. I would expect, because there's no way to know for sure. But if I remember rightly, the change was announced before what happened with the changes with Zelensky and other staff members. So I don't think it's got anything to do with that. I think it was going to be happening anyway. But I couldn't say for certain, of course. That's just my perception, limited perception, with the limited data that I have. Anyway, I'm scrolling back now and I can't find it. I'm trying to remember when it was that they announced the change. This is live radio, guys. No, I can't find it. It's going to take too
So
long.
do you have data or information
About?
No, that was just a general, because you said the limited data I have. So I said, do you have data or do you have information?
Now, sarcasm will get you everywhere, Christopher.
Well, I'm just trying to follow on the theme that Flock and us talked about a little bit. So anyway, just following on a theme. No need to answer. It was kind of rhetorical. Back to you.
It's a good job I'm just laughing at you then, isn't it? Sorry. Never mind.
No. I'm here to try to help you smile. That's one of my main goals. It's part of my job description. If you remember reading in paragraph 3, subsection 2, you'll see it right there.
Yes, I will see it right there. Now, you're making me get distracted from this report that I was reading. So, this is a report from the Southern Defence Forces, and this was at, let me see, 15 minutes ago. So, let's see what they are saying. This is quite interesting and important. We appeal to all mass media commentators, experts, and bloggers. The Defence Forces carry out a number of activities in various directions with certain results. However, not everything that spreads in social networks should be perceived as a reflection of reality. In the conditions of a hybrid war, the Russians powerfully use all propaganda resources to distort real information, hide the results of our combat work, and accuse Ukraine of violating the laws and customs of warfare. That is why it's important not to spread information with reference to enemy resources, not to put forward versions, and not to make assumptions about the goals and methods of conducting combat work by the Defence Forces. And we urge everyone to be patient, to give information only on the basis of official messages from the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the General Staff, the commands of the separate brigades, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, operational strategic groups of troops, which is like in the Tavria direction. So, there, a further warning so I don't know what Russians have been saying, but some kind of nonsense they've clearly been spreading for that warning to be coming out, I think. It seems like to me anyway. What do you reckon, Christopher? Interesting.
It's important. No, it's important for them to continue to remind people that that's what's going on. I'm also seeing, interestingly, that there's a hashtag that's trending. What might that hashtag be, you ask? And I will go back, refresh the page, and make sure that I'm getting this again. Russia is collapsing. It's apparently trending. And there's all kinds of, in this thread, that there's walls that have fallen, things that are breaking. I kind of like that. Russia is collapsing. Okay, back to you.
I like that too. Russia's collapsing, Russia's falling, Russian banks are, I don't know, run on Russian banks. All these things, any of those things will do. Yes, that sounds like good to me. Where did that hashtag come from anyway? Do you know? Have you got
I
anywhere
don't
to
know.
tell
It's on my trend line. The Ministry of Accidental Russian Fires also has it. It's just there. It's on my trend line. Back to you.
Ah, speaking of fires, now where did I see that? Did I have lost that now? Oh goodness me, it's gone. I saw that there was a large fire somewhere in Russia. So now I'm doing a mockers and it's gone past me. And as I'm not the resident boomologist, I do not know how to find these things as quickly as mockers. So I will keep searching because there was definitely something on fire in Moscow. But of course, these days there's pretty much something on fire every day in Moscow. Isn't there? Yes, definitely. So the general prosecutor has opened investigations against the crap. What's that you've sent me? Oh yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Christopher. Go ahead. What did you just send me, Christopher?
Oh, I just sent you the Ukrainian Ministry of Accidental Fires. 76,000 posts. They're posting strong. And of course, there's a post in there about somebody that's talking out of school, part of the retired German general. And he sounds like he'd have a wonderful time on a Slolo Volvo's show. And Berlin has a counterintelligence program. And of course, then there's fire footage everywhere. The first target photos are starting to come in, apparently, and we're getting fires. There's a fire about there's a roof collapsing, crushes 2 parked emergency responding vehicles. And then that, of course, is the hashtag Russia is collapsing. And then that, of course, then if you click through that, you get all of these other places that are collapsing. That's very cool. I guess maybe if you've got a collapsing photo, that we would hashtag it that way. Anyway, Russia is collapsing. Back to you.
Yes, and let's hope it continues to collapse at an ever increasing pace. That would be good to me. Good for me. Yes, I like that idea. So, Energotom is talking about the construction of the new power plants, and that will contribute to the approach of the low carbon future. So we've spoken about that, you and I, on a couple of occasions. So that's all ongoing. And I was just looking at what the Minister of Energy was saying because I was trying to see if there was any update regarding that gas that gas pipeline that we were talking about earlier, Christopher. But I wasn't seeing anything. There's quite a lot to go through, quite a lot of a breakdown though. There's basically lots of people were cut off, but in short, most people, power was returned to them by the end of the day, which is pretty much the way things have been going with these incredible energy workers that seem to be always going out from DTEC. I don't see them go out from anywhere else. So I get the impression, as I said to you, that they've got some kind of state contract for the repair. We have something similar in this country, the same with the network rail system as well. So let's have a look. A total of 50 settlements remain without power in Zaporizhia, and that's 3,730 subscribers. So that's, of course, households. As you said before, Christopher, that's more than one person in each household, mostly, probably. Let's have a look. Kyiv region. So they were disconnected from gas there in Borisville, 17 consumers, and that doesn't say anything about them being reconnected as yet. Loads of people disconnected all over the place in Sumy, all due to hostilities, thousands of customers across various different settlements. As a result of enemy shelling, distribution gas pipelines were damaged in 2 districts of the region, and 2,600 consumers were disconnected from gas supply. Gas workers did manage to restore 579 of those consumers or households. I should probably just say households so people understand more, and then I'm clear in what I'm saying. Kharkiv region, the thousands disconnected but were reconnected again very quickly, and also the same in Chernihiv. So no update, I guess, about the gas supply. Hopefully they will get reconnected tomorrow then. It's a bit different with gas. It's a bit harder with gas, isn't it? I think so they have to do these things a little bit more carefully. Well, that's my experience anyway. Martin, welcome back. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Tracy and Christopher, once again. I just wanted to, and Slava Ukraini, of course, always. I wanted to mention another article that I just came across, and I posted under my timeline. And Christopher, perhaps you could put this one into the nest if you feel it's deserving. It's called, and it's actually, when you read it, it's in a way, it's complementary to the article that Ilya Ponomarenko had, which I read in Time magazine today. It's called "How Western Weapons Help Ukraine Survive and Thrive in Russia Fight Against All Odds," and it's in today's New York Post. And it's a really good article. I have to say so myself. And I think it's worthy of a read, and perhaps it just reinforces all the things that we have been saying. The royal we, you, and all the people who know about these things, about the need and how valuable, invaluable these Western weapons have been for Ukraine in its existential fight against the genocidal invaders from Muscovy. So I wanted to mention that. And as I say, Christopher, if you want to, you can post it onto the into the nest, and people can give it a read and perhaps discuss it. So thank you. Slava Ukraini, please retweet this site.
Hello, thank you, Martin.
You're all right there, Tracy.
Yes, sorry, Christopher, I was slightly distracted. I apologize.
Oh, no need to. I just hope you didn't. I hope you didn't fall and crash again.
No crashes. No, we are not having no crashes. So what else has been going? I was actually looking to see if we had any information from the White Angels or anything like that, because I've not seen any updates from them recently. But unfortunately, there is nothing from them. Because you know what else I was looking? Why I was looking for that as well? Because they give the numbers, don't they, of how many people are left in the areas usually, and the breakdown. And I was just wondering to see, because I've not seen any recent updates about how many people are left in like Avdiivka and how many people got out from there. They normally post it quite regularly, like the Avdiivka City Military Administration, but they've been leaving it out on some days as well. So let's have a look. So the last update was this morning. 190 people, including 55 children, were evacuated, is what they've reported this morning. But again, they've not given the numbers. I wonder if it's because they don't know, or because I'm hoping it's because maybe everybody got out. We did hear that some people managed to get out from there, Christopher, on their own. They managed to make their own way out on foot as well, nonetheless. So, but anyway, no updates, but at least people are still getting out. At least people are still being evacuated, because that's quite a good amount to be evacuated in one day, isn't it? Especially under conditions of shelling and things like that. You know, because that never stops. That's important to say. They're constantly getting shelled. So I think that's pretty good. Anyway, what else was I going to look at? President Zelensky's speech, because that should be out for this evening. So he's probably going to be talking, about. So of course he's talking about what the rescue operations that are going on in Odessa. So utility workers are working on a total of 215 people are involved, and he's of course giving his thanks to them. Let me see what time this was. Oh, this was quite early on, so actually it's not released. I wonder if President Zelensky will do an evening address tonight, Christopher, because it's normally out by this time, isn't it? And he hasn't done one, so I wonder if because of what's happened, he's not going to do one tonight.
Oh, I don't know. That seems to be that would seem to be very rare, wouldn't it? I mean, it is only like 8:45 p.m. in Kyiv, and I know this because I have a clock that says. Back to you.
I mean, of course, sometimes they do come late, and it's understandable, really, with everything that's gone on, because it's not just Odessa. Although Odessa was maybe one of the worst hit areas, there's other areas that came under attack, of course, and other people have lost their lives and been injured. And 15 high-rise buildings in one street. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? In Donetsk was that? I think. I'm pretty sure that was. Our friend, Mr. Vladimir Flashkin, who, why you didn't, do you remember when you asked me if I know who he is, Christopher? I don't know if you remember that.
No.
Anyway, it's irrelevant, probably. I just mention it because I think the reason that you wouldn't have recognised his name is because he's actually quite new. So he took over a few months ago. When it used to be Pavlo Kirilenko, he used to be the head of Donetsk Regional Military Administration. So, but anyway, irrelevant. Yeah, it was Donetsk there, 15 high-rise buildings. So now you and I are to depart very soon, Christopher. So I do all the talking all the time. Is there anything else you would like to cover? I think we should have a quick public service announcement about our fundraiser before we leave. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Sorry, I keep punching the mic button and nothing happens. We do have Chuck Fair coming up, and I put up in the nest a few of his tidbits that he's posted on his timeline, including a couple of maps, and from Kremina and from Avdiivka, and then also a couple of posts, one on a French designed hammer weapon, and that's really pretty cool to look at. It's kind of looks like a grappling hook from the days of old, or maybe one of those things that was atop a spear that some ancient knight was charging with on a horse. So that's actually up there. Anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. Then I get like shiny objects put in front of me. You know what happens.
And I'm coughing, sorry.
That's okay. We're good. I've moved. I'm just doing a little nest tidying up before we leave, so that we don't leave our playpen, our play area a mess. Some of these things are kind of cool to leave up, and the next co-hosts can make that decision. But we've had an extended play, and I think we've done pretty well with keeping a tidy nest. But of course, since I'm keeping the nest, that's what I think. Anyway, back to you.
Yes, but Christopher, you do such a good job of keeping it so tidy. I mean, why would I try and take over? And
Well,
I do
I
appreciate
have
it.
to be able to contribute somewhere, Tracy. So this is my contribution, and I'm very excited to be able to make that happen. And I think that as we continue to go on, when we talk about some of our regular segments during the week, that we should continue to work with those audio, not audio, sorry, just we are audio, right? Well, so we just need visuals. So we are audio and we need visuals. And so I will keep trying to get us stuff that people can follow along by looking at the various cards that we throw up in the nest. Anyway, back to you. I'm sorry, your public service announcement.
No, that's quite all right, Christopher. And just to keep you all tantalised, Christopher and I, we have lots of plans for interesting upcoming segments and all sorts of things to talk about. And some other people have other plans as well, I know, which I won't speak for them. I will let them speak for themselves. But you should all stick around because there's lots of new and exciting programming to come across MriyaReport. And I will just tell everybody that we have photos that have emerged of well-burnt tanks. This is the oil depot, of course, that we're talking about in Fedosia. So we're now starting to get some nice pictures coming out of that. So you just have to
wait. No, tanks. Oh, like what? I get it. Storage tanks, not the ones on two tracks that move around and go boom, boom.
No, oil storage tanks. Maybe the next best thing to, armor tanks. Anyway, yes, Chuck Farrer is coming up for you, ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals. So you are very lucky. You are going to have Sir Chuck Farrer as your co-host. So aren't you lucky? How exciting is this? So we're going to get double enjoyment, Christopher. So we're going to get co-host and we're going to get to listen to the amazing Chuck Farrer as well. So I will be making sure I enjoy that. So everybody, you must retweet, you must reshare, you must tell everybody else as much as you can. Come and join us and let's have lots of information, conversation, questions, comments. This will be an excellent session. There's not many people here, 194. So all of you get retweeting, please. And Christopher and I will see you very shortly, no doubt. I don't even know whose turn it is to go first today, Christopher. Do you?